Star Brewery in Fridley. We're kicking the party off with the Star Bank Red Carpet broadcast starting at 6:30 p.m., followed by some of your favorite fan games for great prizes, including tickets to see Metallica at U.S. Bank Stadium and rounds for rooms. Thanks to Star Bank. Then we'll wrap up the night with live music from the Chris Hockey Band. Get the full details now at KFAN.com/partay.
Nobody loves the bumper music here, 9 to noon, more than our in-studio guest, John Bonus at Twins Geek via the X Machine, twinsdaily.com, myriad websites, correct?
Oh,
yes.
So many. Zone coverage, Hockey Wilderness for your wild.
You have to write all these down?
Brewer Fanatic, Northside Baseball if you're a Cubs fan. We got a lot going on.
You're like Nick Cannon with his kids, except for a website.
My names are not nearly as creative as Nick's.
But at least you're able to name them all.
Yeah. Ours are as exciting as Twins Daily. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, but easy to remember. Yeah. Easy to remember. Go to the website.
The Nick Cannon equivalent would be like, fourth one to this woman.
I think one of his kids was named Zone Coverage, though. I think that was with an apostrophe in the middle.
Potentially true. That's a good one.
The Twins win 5-3 last night, and they're back at Target Field after some extended time away from the home park. But of course, this is the nature of your existence. You understand it. Is we can't get out alive without, well, Correa, the bruise the other day, but now he hit a home run yesterday. He appears to be just fine. But Royce Lewis and this hammy, man, what's up with Royce? He just can't stay healthy.
This last series where they were versus Seattle, we talked. We do the podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so on Monday we talked a little bit about that series. And one of the major developments is we're seeing Trevor Larnach on a regular basis in left field. Trevor Larnach is still, I think, dealing with some turf toe or some kind of foot problem.
And he was off yesterday, right?
I actually don't know. I was at the Saints game yesterday.
Oh.
But
go Saints, go Sean Aronson, go all those guys.
We're at the Saints game watching Brooks Lee hit a home run into the right field, like just crush a home run to right field. And so we're like, if you've got Larnach in left, now he and Miranda don't have to split time anymore. Miranda at DH. You've got you got Castro at second base, Royce Lewis. Like, you've got a lineup where every person in that lineup is above average hitter. I mean, the worst hitter in that lineup was Max Kepler, who's got like a 99 OPS plus, right? Everybody else was 110, 120, 150 for Correa, 180 for Royce Lewis, etc.
Yeah.
It was just, this is the lineup clicking in a way that they were hoping to see it click, one of the top lineups in the American League. So, that lasted a day. One off day, and then the midway through the second inning, Royce Lewis is hurt. How hurt, we don't know. We will definitely, I think, find out in the next day or two. It's pretty clear he probably doesn't want to go on the IL. It's also pretty clear that they can be appropriately cautious when it comes to dealing with Royce Lewis and injuries.
Yeah, a lot of people not making light, I should say, but really hanging on the I'm not optimistic.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but I think that's based on a track record and here we go again.
I think the context of that particular quote was not like, "Oh, I feel terrible." It was more like, this crap just keeps happening to me, so I'm not optimistic, and frankly, he's also probably not optimistic that they're going to be like, oh yeah, we'll just, rest for a couple days and we'll figure it out. No, they're probably going to put you on the IL. Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe not. Maybe the MRI comes back clear and he's good to go. But yeah, I mean, if he does come out, I mean, first of all, it's a 10-day minimum stay that puts him basically coming back the last series before the All-Star game. So if they were to just put him on the IL now, he could be out, basically miss 2 games just before the All-Star game, then get Twins have a 5-day break at the All-Star game. So you'd get almost, 2.5 weeks, maybe 18 days off, something like that. And I could see where they would think to themselves, that might be a good idea to try and get that groin fully back in working order. Everybody wants to have their groin in working order.
Yes, that is correct.
And in the meantime, that gives you a pretty good opportunity to say, see Brooks Lee a little bit. Or, I mean, the truth is they could call up Brooks Lee. They could call up, they could recall Edouard Julien. They could bring up Matt Wallner. Willie Castro's positional flexibility makes all things possible. And you can just call up whoever you think is your best hitter down there. Now, right now, it looks like your best hitter down there is Brooks Lee, who is slugging something like .630 since he started the season at St. Paul about a month ago. So he can slide seamlessly into third base. So
we'll see what happens. Any announcements that are made beyond maybe he just doesn't go today for the Twins against the Tigers, another evening game at Target Field tonight. But
we'll be covering it at Twins Daily. Don't worry, you can just check in Twins Daily. We'll
check in at Twins
Daily.
Daily.
All about it. Yeah.
The interesting thing, and you mentioned some of these guys while we wound up talking about Royce, is whether it is Larnach, it's Manny Margot, it's Jose Miranda. Some of these secondary players,
right.
I don't want to say it's like found money. I mean, ultimately they're in the mix. We want them to produce,
right.
But when you're envisioning a team that quote unquote right sizes their business, and you have the kind of start to the season that you do. And there's a lot of frustration. Everybody but Willie Castro is missing games. But you're getting some of these secondary players to step up and handle things at the plate the way they have. Like that's what you were kind of envisioning, I think, when you're thinking, how can this team contend in 2024 given some of the changes that were made? These guys are coming through in spades.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about in spring training. I think I wrote a story about 5 guys you've forgotten about on the Twins roster. And these are basically like prospects that did not develop in a linear manner to where you thought they were going to be.
Okay, yeah.
And what they have seen is that same thing happened this year, both in a bad way, but then also in a good way. Everybody thought Edward Julian was going to be hitting at the top of this lineup right now. He's not hitting. Everybody thought Matt Wallner would be slugging for power in the middle of the lineup. He's not here anymore because prospects don't develop in a linear fashion. They go forward, they come back. Louis Varland is not in the rotation. But amongst the 5 guys that I put in there, Trevor Larnach looked like he washed out, last year. But he doesn't develop in a linear fashion either. Now he's, your left fielder and doing well. Jose Miranda, we thought, completely washed out last year. He wasn't anywhere in the team's play. Neither of those 2 guys are supposed to be on the opening day roster. Both of them now are not just part of the roster, they are starters in this roster. And then Simeon Woods-Richardson, when Louis Varland stumbles, Simeon Woods-Richardson, who's a guy that we'd kind of forgotten about, and to the point where I wasn't sure what his prospect status was even going to be this year at AAA, finds an extra 5 miles per hour on his fastball by going back to what he was doing a couple years ago and continuing to develop that. And now he is, looking like a number 2 starter as opposed to, a AAA guy. That is the value of having depth of prospects at AA and AAA. And the Twins, we can focus on a lot of individual moves that we may like or may not like that Falvey and Levine have made. The one thing they have shown that they can do is they've got a stable of guys at AAA that can jump in and take care of things. And then, by the way, you mentioned Willie Castro's another great example, like another guy that was literally signed as a minor league free agent 2 years ago and now is potentially going to the All-Star game and probably, potentially the most valuable player on the Twins so far this season.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was talking not with Twins Daily, but Dan Hayes, also close to the team. But,
sure.
But he on Monday he mentioned Willie, and it's just in a season in which everybody's missed again. You can look down the list. And Correa, if we're just going straight statistics, I suppose Correa, I think he hit his 10th or 11th home run last night. He's the star of the show right now, which is great. But Willie Castro has played, I believe, in every single game. Yep. The offense is there. The productivity and run scoring is there. And Willie Castro was not a person that I had ever even started thinking about into the season. I'm thinking, hey, It was kind of disappointing when they couldn't keep Michael A. Taylor. Like I was kind of going through those thoughts with secondary players. And Willie Castro, yeah, that's cool. I guess it's glad we have him around. We've needed him every step of the way, and he's come through.
Yeah, Willie Castro has been, I think, my choice right now for MVP of the lineup, at least. Not just because I think if you just had him playing left field or just playing second base, you'd say he's been really good. Like that, he's more than just a regular. He's a very good regular, borderline all-star type of player. But the fact that he can just be moved around anywhere, I think he's now played 5 positions at 20 games or more. Started. Like a lot of guys end up getting pushed into that position in late innings. He has started, like 4 positions at 20 games, something like that. It's just all over the field. And including like the 3 infield positions that aren't first base. Like these are not just, first base, left field, right field. These are, center field, second base, third base, left field, shortstop. Because of that, you are able to do things like say, okay, which of the guys at AAA are hitting the best? Like, I don't have to call up an infielder to replace an infielder. I don't have to call up an outfielder to replace an outfielder. I've got all the flexibility in the world. And it's also giving Rocco Baldelli that same flexibility in the lineup every day. Like, the reason Jose Miranda is getting so much time is because Willie Castro can end up handling pieces of it. The reason that Austin Martin is probably on the roster is because Willie Castro can allow you to cover the infield and give Austin Martin some starts in the outfield. He raises the level of the overall lineup because you're always getting the player you want to have or the matchup you want to have because he's just your utility knife.
Is Pablo again?
Boy, it looks like the last 2 starts. I guess I probably should be more concerned about the rotation, or I should have been maybe more concerned about the rotation than I was like 3-4 weeks ago. But even when you're looking at Pablo's 5-something ERA or Bailey Ober's 5-something ERA last, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was kind of like, yeah, but they still seem like they're pretty good. I mean, we're not. It's not like you're looking at the rotation going, I don't really know who our number 3 starter is or number 4 starter. Well, I mean, right. They basically had 6 pitchers all season, now 7 with Festa. And that is a healthy rotation. And for the most part, Ober's had some problems. Lopez has struggled a little bit more than we thought he was going to. But neither of them were showing like a 4-mile-per-hour decrease in velocity or something that looked dangerous. It just looked like they were sort of adjusting and getting themselves in condition for the season. One of our key factors going into the season was, with Sonny Gray gone, are we going to see Ryan or Ober or maybe Paddock develop into somebody we can trust for the playoffs? And basically they need to pitch well enough to get through the regular season and make the postseason. But we really need to see him clicking in like August and September. Yeah. So that's been sort of my focus.
Okay.
And what we've seen so far is Ryan's already clicking. Now the question with Ryan is whether or not he can keep it up, because he couldn't keep it up last year. He could. He started out really
Wasn't
really
that the injury bit?
Well, yeah, he had
because I think he had a complete game and
yes, and then the very next start he hurt himself warming up, and then he gave up 20 home runs in about the next 7 starts or something crazy.
Was it the Atlanta bit where he had to like come clean and he's like, I think I'm actually hurt and maybe I tried to.
Except he came clean 3-4 months later, or no, not 3-4 weeks later. That warming up in Atlanta back then when I started giving up home runs, I hurt myself warming up. But right now he seems to really be on top of things. And then Bailey Ober has had 2 of his best starts of the season. Pablo Lopez has had 2 of his best starts of the season, including kind of just gutting his way through the Seattle one, where by the 3rd inning I thought maybe he's cooked. Well, no, he went 6 innings. The time before that he's striking out 14 guys. Bailey Ober thrown a complete game on 89 pitches. It's looking again like this rotation. I don't think it's an elite rotation. I don't think the numbers bear it out as an elite rotation right now. But it seems like a good, solid base. And when you've got an offense that was clicking the way this one was, and hopefully that won't change too much if we substitute Brooks Lee for Royce Lewis, or Royce Lewis comes back healthy. Could continue to win. This has been, they're 11 games over 500. They are a really good team. They are the 4th best team in the American League right now in terms of record. It's just that Cleveland's been that much better.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, they're on pace to win, 5-6 more games maybe than they did last year.
It's killing me.
And Cleveland can't freaking lose.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So but such is the nature of a Twins fan. Let me see here. We were mentioning the pitching. Chris Paddock is somebody that interested me in a reserve role last year. Comes back, and now we want to see kind of ramp him back up into starting form again. I think he's on the chill right now. Yep. What have you thought about how they've handled him? And I think this is scheduled, by the way. I don't believe he's injured, but it's like, we want to put him on ice for a little bit.
Shoulder fatigue.
Sure.
Is what
Okay.
the injury was originally. He's on the 15-day IL right now. As a result, we saw David Festa called up last week, and we're going to see David Festa again tonight.
Okay.
Which I'm excited to see him at home, see how that works.
Well, it seems like as long as they're not facing Skubal, they should be. I mean,
well,
that cat's pretty. I mean, for a team, you're just like Tigers, non-playoff team, all this. That Skubal cat's pretty good.
And they're dodging a bullet today too. Jack Flaherty was supposed to be starting for Detroit, who's one of their better pitchers, and now they're skipping a start with him and calling up a guy named Keider Montero, who I don't know a lot about, but his numbers have not been real impressive.
What do you think about Paddock?
I'm still probably a little too optimistic about Pratt. In part because you see the upside of him. Like he went 8.1 innings one of the games and so on. We've seen him throw 95, 96, 97 at times. We've also seen him throw 90, 91, 92. So there seems to be sort of an inconsistency there. That's not unusual when you come back the year after Tommy John surgery. Now, usually that inconsistency isn't so much in velocity as much as it is in control. You know, the shoulder tends to be where the velocity comes from. The elbow tends to be where the control comes from. When you're coming back from elbow surgery, a pitcher's control can be iffy from game to game to game. One of those years, we saw that a lot with Kenta Maeda when he was coming back last year.
Yeah.
So he's not inconsistent the way I thought he was going to be inconsistent. But I'm also surprised. Frankly, I'm surprised they didn't give him a trip to the IL for shoulder fatigue before this. I kind of suspect that's because he has no interest in such trips to the IL. He is a Cowboy, and he wants to be a reliable every day. I'm going to go 7 innings. I'm going to blow you away with my fastball kind of guy and his changeup. His changeup's been one of his best pitches too. I think it's a good idea to give him a rest. I'll be interested to see if he comes back before the All-Star break, or if this rest ends up being this 15-day IL trip ends up being an extra 5 days long, and then 5 days on the All-Star break, and he basically gets a month off. I could see that happening. I could also see him saying, no, I want to get 2 more starts before the All-Star break, and then I'll take my 5 days off and, get another little bit of a rest. In the meantime, we get to see David Festa, and David Festa is the Twins' top pitching prospect, and he also has the ceiling. I don't expect that we're going to see it this year, but I think he's got the ceiling of a number 1, number 2 guy. Wow. So, again, the ceiling of somebody who you want to have starting in the playoffs. So I think it's a good opportunity to kind of see what he can do.
Are we going to be staring up at Cleveland all year long? I mean, does this feel like it's gone beyond hot upstart, the whole thing? Now it's just...
Of course it does. Like, they've finally kind of gotten to some of the tougher part of their schedule. They're taking 3 out of 4 from pretty good teams, or 2 out of 3 from some pretty good teams. Now, on the other hand, they did stumble against the Royals last weekend.
Didn't they lose 2 or 3?
They lost 3 or 4.
They lost 3 or 4, okay.
I think they've got 8 games left versus Cleveland. I'd feel a lot better about those 8 games if they weren't 0-5 versus Cleveland so far this year.
Isn't that nutty, though? Like, I think this year against the Yankees, maybe the Orioles are in that mix, and Cleveland, they're like 0-15 or something like that, and then they just dominate everybody else.
Well, the good news is that they had a pretty tough first half of the season compared to their second half of the season. They've already faced the Dodgers. They've already faced the Yankees 6 times, 7 times?
6, I believe,
6 times, 7. Baltimore, I think they've got 3 more versus them, but they're here at home. They're not on the road. Then we've got Cleveland, which is, 8 games. And, do you want to face a team that's 23 games over 500 8 times in the second half of the season? Well, you do if they're right in front of you. Yeah, you do if you can go 6-2 versus them and close that 6-game gap down to a 2-game gap, and then we'll see what happens for the rest of the thing, because Cleveland's schedule is not as easy as the Twins' schedule for the second half of the season. So, will we be looking up at them the whole time? Well, it's a 6-game gap. It ain't easy to close, but I do kind of feel like at some point Cleveland's going to stumble a little bit on that. But I've been saying that for 2 months, so what the hell do I know?
Well, let's just keep saying it then. We got a lot of games left.
Right.
At some point, it's got to ring true.
Double down, right?
Absolutely. That's John Bonus, TwinsDaily.com, zone coverage. The list is expansive at Twins Geek via X. Another segment with him, final hour. We'll continue on the Twins and just the vibe with a team that that continues to push on again tonight at Target Field with the Detroit Tigers in town. It's Nordo in for PA. Max Fuller is here, and it's 9 to noon on the Fan.
Nothing defines Minnesota quite like its 10,000 lakes, and we need to keep them beautiful. Post on social media using the hashtag #ChooseChill to help Coors Light, KFAN, and Conservations Minnesota protect the lakes, rivers, and waters we love.
Stupid random question here, John. There are still pedal pubs in Minneapolis, right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. That's it. That was the question.
I mean, I think so.
No, I
don't know the last time I saw one, but I think it's been recently. It's been sometime in the last 2-3 months.
Because they were the. Remember when they were the thing?
Yeah,
they were the absolute
I remember
thing.
when they were the thing.
And
I've
I've
never actually done one, which seems odd that there's a drinking activity like that that I was not been involved in.
They can be really fun. At one point, there were 4 or 5 of them. I think there were like the city had to they're all over the place. You know, we got enough bike lane arguments in this town as it is.
Right.
Now suddenly you got 12 drunk partiers pedaling up Hennepin. But they are fun. But here's what I'll tell you, and I'm glad that they're still around because they are cool. I encourage people to do them. If you do a pedal pub, make sure that you get people that actually want to pedal. Because when
Did you do it without pedalers?
Yep, and I'm never going to do it again unless I get a bunch of people that are committed to pedaling. When you have that thing chock full, 12, 15 people on it, everyone's drinking, having a good time, and it's me and 3 other people having to do the Tour de France because you wouldn't believe that 1 degree little incline going from Washington up Nicollet down to 10th, you're heading to the local, you're doing the bar stops, Ritz along the way, all that. You wouldn't believe what 1 degree of an incline feels like when you're just pulling a freaking sled.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the pub crawl, but particularly the verbs involved with those 2 respective things. I'm much more interested in a crawl than a pedal.
No, I'm with you on that. So I'm just, if you ever do that.
They both have the word pub in them.
I don't know why it popped in my head. It's a super cool idea, and I love it, but just make sure that the people you go with are committed to actually pedaling. And ask them, and be a jerk about it. You're in this thing or not?
Yeah.
No. You're not here just to drink beer. Okay? There's some effort involved.
Right.
So I don't know why that popped in my head again. But hey, we were talking off the air. Into the off season, we're right sizing the business. And there was a lot of
you're going to talk about babies.
A lot of negativity. Oh, baby, I can talk about babies.
BabyTalk.com. Yeah, another site we're starting out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Babyfeeding.com. Sure.
You know what? I love her to death. Ain't doing a pedal pub with Hannah. She's not working. No, she's not doing anything.
Not doing the work.
No, she's whining the whole time.
Right.
No, I can't be near that. Love baby Hannah. Right sizing the business into the season. Tough start. Now we're talking about a 90-plus win team that is in the thick of it for the Major League season. But a lot of people, and this was a talker a couple of months ago, broadcast rights and all of those things. And I'm just curious, a lot of negativity, and I don't have access. I got to go out of my way to find myself to a baseball game these days, which in a lot of ways stinks because this is a team that is, again, a wild card team at this moment. Cleveland playing out of their minds, but this is a good baseball team, and people want to watch them.
A team that won a couple postseason games for the first time in 20 years just last offseason.
This is right off again, the heels and the right size count. I mean, just a lot of things have become roadblocks in the last 6 months to people enjoying a team that had a fantastic end to a long playoff drought. They were game in that Astros series. Then the what's next comes, and now people are like, well, I can't watch it on TV. Have you seen, from a Twins Daily standpoint, Gleeman and the Geek podcast and all of that,
right?
Like, you're going to these games as well. Still, I assume raucous crowds at Target Field on a nightly basis. Should be a beautiful one tonight. But in the same sense, have you seen, I don't need numbers or stats or anything, but, something that's really tangible in terms of positive or negative effects? More people going to the website, less people going to the website. Maybe social engagement, just people that are trying to cling for life to this thing, but having a hell of a time actually enjoying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can give you Twins Daily year over year in June was quite a bit higher than it was June of 2023, at least in terms of number of visitors and so on that we've had. Maybe I think the number was 8 to 9% up.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, I mean that's fine. It's great. Yep. I'll tell you, anecdotally from the Gleeman and the Geek Patreon podcast and regular podcast, we hear from listeners on a regular basis that say, "So glad you guys are here because I'm having trouble keeping up with the team any other way than the podcast."
Okay.
And, I can't sit down and watch the games as much. So, I love hearing you guys dissect the game last night or this particular play that happened in the sixth inning because I couldn't watch it live.
Right.
And, so it is probable, I would say, that part of our subscription numbers for the Patreon are based on the fact that people have decided that's as good a way to follow it as any when things are blacked out normally on Comcast because of a contract dispute between Comcast and Bally Sports North. So
yeah,
so I think we're probably seeing some bump from that. I certainly know, but I'll also say this: I'd certainly, if we're going to bump in traffic, I personally would trade that bump in traffic for actually just having them around and being able to watch them at any bar I go to and being able to talk Twins with all the people I want to talk Twins with who just happen to be able to turn on the game and want to catch it because, the Twins are in the middle of a 12-game win streak or something like that and nobody can watch the damn thing.
Yeah, and whether you're in a bar or you're at a pedal pub, you want to be able to connect with people on Twins.
I'll tell you this, Twins Daily likes to do watch parties. The first watch party had to get moved from one bar to another bar because
one had access and one did not.
One had Comcast and one had DirecTV, and I think our second one is going to be canceled, and I think we're going to only have the third one because that one is also DirecTV. So
in the end, whether and I think maybe the links locally, there have been probably people that have felt upticks in their viewership and things that they've benefited from this. And in the end, people just want to be able to watch their favorite baseball team on TV. But it's it's been interesting hearing from so many people over the last month and a half. There's I think everybody, there's one, just get the games back on TV, but there's also, it's kind of like there's a punitive element to it. It's like, you want the team to hurt because of this. You want the Twins organization to sweat it out. You hope things don't go well. It almost, a punishment of sorts for allowing this to happen in the first place. I just want the games back on the TV. Yeah, that's all I ask for.
No, I'm with you 100%. I think the Twins managed to F up this TV thing about as well as they could possibly screw it up. And I will grant this was a challenging situation, right? But it's a challenging situation. They're challenging, and yes, you could just kind of throw money at the problem, but you're talking about throwing, tens or 20s or 30 or $40 million at this problem to kind of change things around. But that said, they've gotten the group that has truly gotten screwed on this the most are Twins fans.
Yeah.
The Twins still got their money from Bally Sports North.
They did.
Right? Mm-hmm. The fans just didn't get to watch the games. And so as a result, I think I feel bad for the Twins and the organization and the challenge they faced. But I feel a lot worse for the fans, given the fact that one way or the other, the Twins are still getting paid. They still pocketed that money. They didn't put that money back into the payroll. They didn't put that money back into a better product on the field. And now, in either way, the Twins don't, and the fans don't get the benefit of having a better team, better players, or watching the game on TV right now.
Let me ask you a really dumb question. If I was to say parity in baseball, I think that some people would scoff at that, right? The idea, the Dodgers going to 3 World Series in a row, they win one of them. We know what the Yankees do. There's a payroll element to it.
Yeah, we know how. Yeah, the payroll element is enormous. Right?
Correct. Yeah, but whether it's the Orioles, super young, winning 100 games last year, the team that ultimately wins the World Series. The Rangers organization certainly not hurting for cash by any stretch, but also maybe not a team into the postseason people were thinking about as being, the ones to lift the trophy. Yeah. The Astros, maybe a fading star in some respects, but all the same, they've certainly spent the last 7. Do you see maybe where I'm going with this, though? Does it feel like there's some more parity creeping up a little bit when you start looking at whether it is the Rangers, it's 4 or 5 years ago now, but the Natties, like you're seeing a more competitive postseason? Is there any accuracy to that at all? It's okay to just tell me I'm stupid.
I'll say no. Here's the thing. Baseball by itself is a much more random game than the other sports that we are used to. I mean, it's a lot more similar to, say, hockey. You're a big hockey fan, right?
Sure, yeah.
You just try to be one of those teams in the hockey playoffs, and then the hockey playoffs are going to be a lot more random.
Yeah, just get in and have a chance.
Just if you ever try to bet on hockey in the playoffs, you will understand. You take a look at the odds to win and go, there is no favorite here. Right? It's somewhat similar for baseball. Baseball's just such a random game. A really, really good team in baseball wins 65% of their games. I mean, that's close to a record-setting pace.
Yeah.
You win 65% of games. A really, really bad team wins 35, 40% of their 35%. So there's just a lot of opportunity to win and lose one way. And so when you get to the postseason, where you've got a 3-game series, a 5-game series, a 7-game series, random stuff happens. Like that just happens. The postseason is, in fact, a crapshoot. Now, you can take a look at really, really good teams like the Dodgers and say, well, I mean, they are just a really, really, really good team. So they're going to be one of those 65%, and a lot of times that's going to work out for you. This year, the two teams who were in the World Series last year, both of them are below 500 and might be sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Both the Diamondbacks and the Rangers might be out of this thing by then. So I would say baseball is sort of built. The regular season and the postseason are built so differently. The regular season is 162 games. It's a long race. You want to separate the wheat from the chaff. Over 162 games, you got plenty of opportunities to do it. The postseason's a roulette wheel a lot of ways. Is it going to come up red or is it going to come up black? Maybe some green that goes one way or the other.
Well, if Dov Lambert is spinning the wheel, it's going to be the opposite of whatever he puts his chips on.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's always the rule. It's just bet the opposite of Dov. And I think that's still the case. I think that was always the case before. That being said, I would love to see more parity in baseball. I would love it if the collective bargaining agreement didn't reward teams that are spending $50 million and penalize teams that are spending $400 million.
Yeah.
But that isn't just the major league owners. That's also the major league players. The Players Association has drawn a line in the sand on a salary cap forever. And it's always going to be there. And even if you accompany it with a salary floor, that doesn't change. So I don't think we're going to see any changes. Well, we're certainly not going to see any changes for that 3-4 years because that's how long the collective bargaining agreement goes. But I don't think we're very imminent to it yet either.
Last thing for you, just as we enter the All-Star break, hopefully Royce Lewis, we can get this groin thing figured out and he's back and he's on the mend quickly. Still no word on that. Follow Twins Daily for updates. Feeling like this team is game to as the trade season starts taking place. That these guys will be buyers, maybe.
I think. Well, they're not going to be sellers. I'll say that. 2 years ago, we saw the Twins really go for it with trading for Tyler Mahle and Jorge Lopez. And, getting a high end starter, a high end closer, and then a couple of other fill in pieces as well, and then it all went sideways. They didn't even make the postseason. Everybody got hurt. They didn't even make the postseason. Last year, they basically sat on their hands, and then they won 3-4 postseason games. So, that's worth kind of keeping in mind, and I'm sure they're kind of keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
That they ended up wasting a lot of pretty good prospects for nothing 2 years ago, and then just held on to everybody. And now, those guys that they might have traded away because their stock was low, Trevor Larnach, Jose Miranda, those were the names that were being bounced around to trade away at the deadline last year. They all come back this year and carry the team. I also kind of take a look at this thing and I say, well, there's always room for a really good player, right? But really good players are really expensive, right? Is there room for some role players? Well, maybe a relief pitcher. It would probably like a nice 7th inning setup guy. Although, Alcala, Jax, Duran, you're not going to replace Duran. You're not going to get last year's Duran on the trade market here.
Right.
And so I kind of wonder how active they're going to be. It feels to me like they either are going to want to swing really big, but that's going to be very expensive, or they're going to sit on their hands. And I think you'd probably want to bet on the sit on your hands thing. And I would say, especially given the fact that we don't know what they're paying, how much salary they can take back in a trade right now. Now, on the one hand, they're only picking up a third of a salary. Like they trade for a $20 million player like a Vlad Guerrero.
Yeah,
Junior.
$6.5 million, something like that.
6, 7. I mean, they could probably afford that, but also, why would they?
Right.
Carlos Santana is hitting very well. You've got Jose Miranda hitting very well. Are you going to get that much more production out of that? I mean, yes, you are. You're going to get a lift, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough of a lift to meet the asking price of some team that really needs Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the lineup.
That is John Bonus at Twins Geek via Twitter/X, twinsdaily.com. Thanks for hanging out, man. Have a good 4th.
Oh, love it. Yep. Enjoy your grilling over the weekend. I'm very jealous of you and your smoked meats.
I honestly can't wait. I love having beers in the driveway and cooking meat. It's not bad. Final segment around the corner. Max Fuller here. I'm Nordo in for PA. It's the Fan.
Ball.
All right, final segment. Nordo in for PA. I hope all of you have an unbelievable 4th of July holiday. Well, this is this is a little fast, though, isn't it? Yeah,
That's a little fast.
This is a little too fast. All right, pull the music out. The final segment and the wraps on the show are always brought to you by Casey's, and I love Casey's. Go there for deals on food and fuel, the pizzas, the thin crust. Casey's Pizza is HOF. Stop into a Casey's today, fountain and frozen drinks. They got it all. And they usually bring you the wraps. No wrap from me today. But I love Casey's. Stop into a Casey's today. But I've been told that as we wrap up 9 to noon, that Max Fuller has produced a wrap.
Yeah,
is that accurate?
baby. I got a wrap for you. We got Turner B, our resident hip-hop expert. What are you? I'll give it a review afterwards.
So I'm not exactly the human beatbox over here, but let's see here.
Okay. Yo, my first rap on the show. Doing it big like the plate of Nordo. My man Russo had the hockey on lock. John Bonus, the best with Twins talk. Jordan and Pippen. I'm not talking Mike and Scotty. More like Marcus and Larza getting real naughty. Steph and Dre ain't got Clay no mo, so the Warriors gave big money to slow-mo. Paddle pubs, sitting on dubs, wild money tied up like Church making love. Soccer Talk got the text line in a tizzy, kind of like Nordo tomorrow when he sees all the glizzies. Happy 4th of July, stay safe out there, and for the sake of the fro, keep the sparklers away from the hair. Woo! Hootie-hoo!
And I bow down. Thanks for doing that. You're in charge of the raps moving forward 9 to noon. That is awesome. Thank you so much to Russo. Thank you to Manny Lagos, Minnesota United FC, and John Bonus. You just heard the Twins Geek in here for a couple of segments. Thanks to Max by my side the last couple of days. Most of all, thank you for listening to the Fan, listening to 9 to noon whenever you choose to do so. And happy 4th of July. Let's see some fireworks this weekend.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.